just got to get over it.
Yeah.
And that imposter syndrome can only hold you down until you change your thoughts on yourself. And no, it doesn't always feel like you should, but you got to just remind yourself when there's no one else reminding you.
Yeah.
And know your worth. You got to know that you've put in time, you've put in space, you've worked hard.
Yeah.
It's not a deserve, it's yours.
Welcome to Dishin Up Diaspora, where we explore how culinary traditions connect us to culture, history, and each other. I'm your host, Chef Emme, and today's episode is sponsored by Chef Emme TV on Patreon, a space where I share exclusive content like recipes, cooking tips, and behind-the-scenes moments you won't find anywhere else. It's a little deeper look into my kitchen, my creative process, and right now, membership is totally free. Head on over to patreon.com/chefemmetv and join for free today. Welcome back to those who have been tuning in. Welcome to any newbies. I am so honored to have you all here. I do have an ask for you guys. If you are enjoying Dishin Up Diaspora, please make sure that you're subscribed wherever you're listening to. And if you have some extra time, I would love an honest review. Your support and honest feedback is going to help continue to grow this podcast. Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Dishin Up Diaspora Podcast and follow me at Chef Emme _. Are you guys ready for this episode? Because, it's a big one. Today's guest is a culinary powerhouse who honestly needs no introduction, but I'm going to give her one anyways. Chef Tiffany Derry is a Top Chef fan favorite, a 2-time James Beard Award finalist, and a fierce advocate for food equity and cultural preservation. She's the visionary behind Roots Southern Table, Radici Wood Fired Grill, and Roots Chicken Shack. She's appeared on screen in countless shows, but most notably as a Titan on Bobby's Triple Threat, co-host of Worst Cooks in America, and now she is making history, y'all, as the first full-time Black judge on MasterChef. Chef Tiffany, welcome! Thanks for being here today.
What an intro. I'm just going to have you come with me each time. Hype up the crowd.
Excuse me. Announcing. That was all you. You are amazing and inspiration, honestly. Before we dive deep into your journey, I like to kind of like play a little icebreaker game. I'm going to name like 2 things and you just pick whichever one speaks to you the most, and no right or wrong. You could say both even. Okay, breakfast or dinner?
Dinner.
Sweet or salty?
Salty.
Gumbo or jambalaya?
Gumbo.
Street food or fine dining?
Street food.
Duck fat fries or tallow fries?
Duck fat. Family
recipe or a new creation?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place for all.
Pasta or risotto?
Pasta.
Early morning or late nights?
Late night.
Spicy or mild?
Spicy.
Competing or judging?
I like both, but there's a part of me that will always want the adrenaline of the competition. But let me tell you what, it's way less stressful judging. That's all I got to say.
For sure. Okay, let's take it to the beginning. I want to learn more about you, like how you grew up and how like food showed up in those like early years. Where were you born?
I was actually born in Houston, Texas. And my parents, but my whole family is from Baton Rouge and Port Allen, Louisiana. Mm-hmm. And so really the foundation of every part of who I am came from sort of that Port Allen, Louisiana roots. It's how we cook. It's how we socialize. Everything about who we are really kind of stems from that. But I, for the most part, lived in Beaumont, Texas, which is like maybe 40 minutes from Louisiana. We're on the border, for those who don't know, a little further down past Houston. And most of the time you have to pass through Beaumont to get there. The joke is that most people who live in Beaumont want to be in Louisiana, but like most of everyone there is from Louisiana. So it's really funny. My grandmother had 11 children, and my mom, to me, is the best cook. I don't care what anybody else say, but part of the reason she was the best cook is because she cooked different things. So growing up in a very Southern house, My mom does hair, and she would, someone would come in and they would bring her a noodle, or they would bring her some dish she's never heard of before, and she would eat it, and then she would ask them how to make it, and then she would come home and feed it to us. So I kind of grew up in a household where she was always exploring, which is
Love
nice.
that. Yeah, that's amazing. That's really, really great. Especially because I feel like when people think like, oh, I grew up in the South or like Southern, like very traditional Southern family, you're really thinking of just the Southern foods. But I love that
Sure.
you had like
Yeah.
international flavors. That's
I know it was crazy. Like, I didn't really recognize it when
mm,
I was young. I recognize it more now, especially when I'm talking to her, and
yeah,
she still cooks and makes all these fabulous. She's still the best cook I know, and
love
so
it.
she makes all these dishes, and I'm like, Mom, where you get this? She's like, girl, I learned this from Miss Dolly, who used to come in, or she'd
I
learn from,
love that.
and it
Yeah.
was just always something. I don't know why Dolly came up. That's the first thing that came. I have no clue who Dolly is or why Dolly Parton. No clue.
I love that. That just like really shows you how like food is such like a bridge to understanding other people, other cultures, and just like bringing us together. So I love
Mm-hmm.
that. When did you realize that you were gonna be a chef? Like you're gonna go and pursue food as like a career?
So in high school, I actually went to a career center for culinary arts, and you could do the first couple of hours. I think it was 3 days a week or something like that. It was 3 days a week, and I didn't even know these existed. I
Yeah.
don't know how someone introduced me to it in high school because I wasn't really into like cooking. I was just into eating,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to go to this career center. At the same time, I felt like it was time for me to get a job, and there was a local International House of Pancakes opening up really close to the house, right by the only mall for all of the surrounding cities. And so I went in and I asked to be a cook, and they told me that women weren't allowed in their kitchen. And
Wow.
I was like, wait, what? And they were like, no, we don't do women in the kitchen. And I said, okay, well, what do you have available? And they said, you could be a server. And so I opened with the opening
Mm-hmm.
crew, opened that IHOP as a server in Beaumont, Texas. And eventually someone called in. And then I'm like, it's them telling me that I couldn't be in the kitchen really didn't mean anything because the people who actually worked there,
Uh-huh.
they were lovely. And the guys would teach me all the things in the kitchen. So one day someone called out and they were like, Tiffany, can you come help us? And I started on Inside Expo. And at the time with IHOP, Inside Expo was the person who called out the tickets, of course, but you still had to cook. So you
Mm-hmm.
still had all of the pancakes, the different kinds of pancakes, all the toast. You had to drop everything, and there was only one ticket machine, and that was the one that I had. So I had to
Wow.
command for the whole restaurant at 15 years old.
Wow.
So it was fun.
Yes, to go from like, no, you're not allowed here to like basically running the show. What?
Exactly. Exactly. But it just goes to show, I mean, at that time, it's a franchise and those people weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
And the managers and everyone, they needed someone. And hardly in the morning shift, hardly anyone spoke English. In the night shift, it was definitely a lot more. And
Yeah.
so I started eventually working graveyard shift, which is 8 at night to 6 in the morning
Wow.
on the weekends. And then I was in the culinary center at the school as well. And so there
Wow.
was definitely a moment where I'm like, I love this. It was such
Yeah.
an adrenaline rush. And I
Mm-hmm.
had played sports all my life. So it was just fun. Like, that's
Yeah.
the best way I could describe. Like, I loved
Yeah.
working in the
Yeah.
kitchen with them.
I love that. Did you go to culinary school after that, or was that high school program?
Yeah, so I went to the high school program, continued working at IHOP. In fact, moved to Houston
Mm.
and went to culinary school, the Art Institute of Houston, and then started working at another IHOP graveyard shift
Yeah.
in Houston because the way that it worked, you can never make less than what you made in your other.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a higher rate than probably starting out, even like starting in a fine dining. So I
Mm.
didn't really want to go down in
Right.
rate, and I could do it at night and do all the things I needed to do during the day, which sleeping was not part of it.
No sleep.
No sleep.
Yes. Okay. So you did all that. When then you want Top Chef happen. Like
Ooh,
how far into your career did that happen? Because I feel like a lot of people, when people are like successful and they only see like the positive, they think, oh, like that was easy, it was luck, it's like an overnight
yeah,
success thing. But you had been doing this since you were in high school, working
sure.
graveyard
Yeah,
shifts.
no, it was at least a 10-year in
Yeah.
between. I had been cooking for at least 10 years by the time Top Chef, because I was in Dallas. So um, it would have probably been like, heck, I get my years mixed up now. 2010, maybe? I
Yeah.
don't know. But I know that I had been cooking for a minimum, because I remember when I went on, I was like, I've been cooking for 10 years,
Yeah.
and they're like,
Yeah.
what? And it's funny, they like to, on for Top Chef, they like to say I went from IHOP to Top Chef like there was no in
In
between. Like,
between.
obviously there had to be.
Right.
Obviously.
Exactly. No, totally. Would you say that, like that Top Chef opportunity like really like changed the trajectory of your career in the industry?
Absolutely. I mean, I had been working in Dallas and in Houston only really for,
Mhm.
the trunk of like, my chef tender and
Yeah.
my working in culinary in restaurants,
Mhm.
in fine dining. And um I was known in the area, but I wasn't really that known.
Yeah.
By the time I was in Dallas, I had
Mhm.
made a really nice name for myself and had quite a bit of articles for what I was doing.
Mhm.
But it was nothing like Top Chef.
Yeah.
Top Chef just expanded every opportunity. You're now known in New York. I remember traveling to France, and I remember someone recognizing
Ah,
me in Paris, and I was
wow.
oh,
I love that.
like, couldn't tell me nothing. I
Nothing.
was like,
Okay. Internationally known. Okay.
it was pretty cool.
I
They were
love that.
Americans, but it's
Okay.
okay.
Whatever. Still. I love that. I love that. I visited Dallas this year for the first time. That was my first time in Texas. Shout out.
Yes, we
Um,
loved having you.
yes, I grew up here in Seattle, much different from Texas, not as diverse, So most of the times, like I'm the only Black woman, probably only woman, but especially only Black woman in the kitchen. I don't know if that was like your experience as well, like in Dallas, but you like seeing you like on TV and stuff. Those are the only opportunities that I really get to see like a successful Black woman in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Was that kind of your experience down there, even with the
I didn't
diversity?
know any
Yeah,
growing up. I didn't know another
yeah.
Black woman, but I didn't know another woman doing what I wanted to do either. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why representation is just so important. For me, obviously I didn't need to just see it to become it,
Yeah,
but it darn sure helps if you see somebody out there doing it and you start
yeah,
feeling like, yeah, I can do this. And again, I came from a really strong family background that pushed and elevated and always mentored in the best way that they could.
yeah.
Not in necessarily business, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely in with self-esteem in other ways. And I can imagine if I didn't have that type of support, perhaps I would need to see it in order to truly
Mm-hmm.
believe it, right?
Yeah.
And so it was great to do that, and it was great to push myself and create opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of what you saw when you came to our restaurants was just the idea that it can't continue to go on like this. We can't continue to not have women in the kitchen. We can't continue to have Black women, but we need to have people, diversity in the kitchen.
Yeah.
There is this beautiful thing that happens when we collaborate. And as you know, I mean, I have a Puerto Rican chef. I have a chef from North Carolina. I have another chef from Texas. I have one from Mexico. And when you have all of these different life experiences, and you also have all of these culture experiences, you start realizing that it's not very different.
Mm-hmm.
And when we create these dishes, now we can create dishes that speak directly to everyone's soul, but also through the Southern lens for the Southern restaurant and the Italian lens through the Italian restaurant. And so I think it just makes it all better. And so I definitely took and I said, you know what, I didn't have that experience, but I want others to. And so I'm going to make sure that we create a space where everyone has a seat at the table, where everyone can come in and work, and a lot more opportunity for all of us to move up.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. And you're absolutely right. So you mentioned your Italian restaurant. I think one thing for me, especially like in my younger days, was always just kind of being intimidated cooking things that like I guess didn't necessarily, I'm not Italian, so like I feel like cooking Italian food would have intimidated me. Did you kind of have any thoughts about that at all? I know you're already
Absolutely, girl. Yeah, all the time. And if I didn't have it, there's enough people to make sure I know it. Like I don't know my own skin color,
Right.
but here's the thing. I grew up cooking Southern food at home, eating Southern food at home. When I went into the professional space, I went into Italian restaurants. Every restaurant I worked with was Italian restaurants in my earlier years. And I loved cooking Italian food. I loved the way that the food made me feel. I loved that in some way there was still this connection. In Southern food, I felt like, it's so much heart. It's so many things that are cooked slow and low, and there's all of these ways of preserving and using up everything, and just like that slow cooking feel. And when I started cooking Italian food, it was so much about like the feel and the touch and the purity of things, and the slow cooking of it. And it to me, it felt normal. It felt right to me. And so I think because I started off cooking that first professionally, it was like the first restaurant I ever worked in, outside of like the IHOP and, my professional years.
Yes.
It always stuck with me. And I've always, no matter what menu I do, I always end up having some Italian influence as well. And so my partner, who is Italian, was like, I really want to do an Italian restaurant. I'm like, shoot, me too. Let's go.
Let's do it.
And so I had to get over the fact of like what people will say. Because if we're being really honest, who's really cooking all the food that we see in these restaurants? Who's really creating concepts? There are so many organizations and restaurant groups who create so many different types of cuisine. And so I started going, why can they do it and not you? Why would you be nervous or scared to put yourself out there when every day I'm seeing Japanese food cooked by a non-Japanese chef. I'm seeing Korean food cooked by a non-Korean. I'm seeing Italian cooked by someone who's not Italian or someone who's never lived in Italy and maybe visited 1 or 2 times, And so, I meet people who are from an area that they've actually never experienced as well. And they're still, going to those roots and enjoying themselves. So why not me? I have a great flavor profile. I understand. So let's go.
Yeah. And that's like a mind blowing moment because you never question those people. It's just normal.
Ever. Ever.
What a point. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Breaking news here, folks. I just had my mind blown. Yeah, because it's been normalized, So anything
but also
else
too, I think, and I'll be honest, I think that white people cook all kinds of food all the time. There's no question about who's cooking that food if you look in the kitchen and they're white, or if they created that restaurant and they're white. There's very little.
Yeah.
When a Black person goes outside of whatever their food is, it's always a question.
Yeah.
It's almost like, it's now it's different. Now it's interesting. Now it's, well, where did you learn? And there's like this need to show a resume or this, I want to understand, how do you know about it? Right. And some of it is just pure, just wanting to know, but some of it is like, it's a question. And we had the same thing happen, when we opened the Italian restaurant. Every news writer was like, well, why and how and, what will it be? Will it be this American version of Italian? And I think until you understand that, like, I had so many years cooking it, then it finally makes sense. But it also, guess what? It doesn't really have to make sense. You can do whatever you want to do. If you love cooking another type of cuisine, cook it, understand it, appreciate it, honor it. But like, go and do it. Nobody can tell you what to do and what to cook and how to cook it. It's not their money that, that you're using to open a restaurant. It's yours.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Cook how you want to cook.
I love that.
We don't have to do only one thing. We don't have to be in a box.
Yes.
I wanted Roots Southern Table so bad for 7 years. That was a baby. But I also want a restaurant group that is founded on more than just Southern cuisine. Yeah. So to me, it all makes sense.
Yes, it absolutely does. And let me tell you, I still dream about that spicy pasta, man. I want to hop on a plane to Dallas just to eat it. So good. Okay. So nobody can question your Italian food capabilities here. Okay. But in the same kind of like arena, like with, being in the media, being in the spotlight, imposter syndrome. Does Chef Tiffany Derry still have that?
I think I have probably less than I used to. In some ways, I absolutely struggled with it in the beginning. But there was this constant support that I feel like I got that would remind me that you're where you belong. You've worked really hard your entire life. And you're still working extremely hard. Now, I think in my older age, I'm moving into a place of who cares? Yeah. Who cares what you think? Who cares what the naysayers? Everybody has something to say. Everyone has an opinion. I'll give you one example. I am opening, so as you know, I have the Roots Chicken Shack, the franchise. And we're about to have our first franchisee store open, actually opening within the next 30 days. And, but we've also had planned for my partner and I, we have another one we bought the land for in DeSoto, which is like a Black and brown area. And I have been so hell-bent on the fact that I want to open in the Black suburbs. I want to be where my people are. I want restaurants there. I continue to hear that restaurants don't go to this area. Supermarkets don't go to this area a lot. There's just not a lot of growth in the way that it needs to be to support these areas. It's not just one. There's multiple, but I'm going to be in DeSoto. And we're so excited. We're going to take our Roots Chicken Shack there. Our Roots Chicken Shack creates opportunities for people to have ownership. We know the product we're using is good. We know it's wholesome. We're excited about it. And a big news article comes out in the area. And the first thing somebody said was, we don't need another fried chicken joint here. We got enough fried chicken. And here I am like, God dang, I'm taking my own money. I'm investing in the community. I'm doing all the things that we say we need to do. And guess what? You still gonna have a lot of people who gonna say something else. Now, I know our fried chicken is different than everyone because I know what we're using. There's a lot of things out there that's not good for you you're eating. At least I know what I'm providing to the community is going to be good. And it directly gives back to the community. So it's just, you just got to get over it. And that imposter syndrome can only hold you down until you change your thoughts on yourself. And no, it doesn't always feel like you should, but you got to just remind yourself when there's no one else reminding you and know your worth. You got to know that you've put in time, you've put in space, you've worked hard. It's not a deserve, it's yours. So it's just we can't get out of here in order to make it happen. And sometimes you just, even when you don't fully get it here, you got to jump out and make it happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. MasterChef. Chef Tiffany, do you know that actually I kind of started culinary school and all that because of MasterChef? I was on the very first season of, was on is pretty generous. I was like maybe on it for like 1.2 seconds.
Wait, you was on MasterChef?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God, I had no clue.
First season. But it was, so I didn't make it onto, I don't know. I haven't watched. I kind of, when I got booted, I boycotted.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're doing it the same way. But the very first MasterChef USA, I was on it. They brought, I think it was like 50 finalists. It was like this whole audition process, which was like filmed and part of the show. I don't know if that's how they do it still. still. But I was a part of like the semifinalists. You know, I cooked for Gordon, and he's the one who actually was like, "You should go to culinary school." And I was like, "Okay, yes, chef." And I went to culinary school because of that. So I was super pumped when I saw Chef Tiffany Derry, first full-time Black chef on MasterChef. I love
Yes,
that.
it's about time they put a little flavor over there.
Yes.
It's good. You know what? It is an honor to be able to be on such a large platform. Again, that representation is so important. But also too, you know, after doing so much competition in my life, I have learned that food is just so subjective. And we need people on the judging panel that also understands outside of European flavors
Yeah.
and what that looks like and how it comes together and allow it to be appreciated on the level it needs to be. And sometimes that inexperience from other judges in that culture
Yeah.
sometimes holds us back in a way. You know, we're not getting the due respect we need. We're not moving on in competitions because they truly don't understand what something is supposed to be like and how great that is. And I think for me, I'm excited. I think it brings the energy of the culture, but I also think it brings a different energy completely to the show, as everyone else has made it clear that it does. And learning from Joe and Gordon has been great. Like Gordon is just incredible with how he approaches. And for me, I'm learning a lot more of like the production side of things, which I'm so interested in. And just kind of how the whole TV world comes together in a different way from like just being on talent. As you know, Gordon is a executive producer. So we are privy to like where cameras setups and why outside and how this looks, and we get information that we can add to the show as well on like what that table setup needs to look like and why that's important for it to be there. And I love all of that. So I've been learning a lot.
That's so cool. What an experience. Amazing. Okay, I want to wrap this up with what advice would you give? I mean, again, you're an inspiration, and beyond just, you know, younger people that look like you're an inspiration to men, women, whatever color. Like, what is a piece of advice that you'd give young people looking to start in this industry? Because I think like right now it's really like romanticized being a chef, you know what I mean? So what real advice would you give to these young people?
You know, I get this question a lot, and I think there's no perfect moment to start and do whatever it is you want to do. We often put off doing something because we're waiting for the perfect moment. There's not a perfect moment to go to culinary school. There's never a perfect moment to open a restaurant. There's smart decisions, don't get me wrong, and we need to calculate them, and we need to make sure that we put energy into the idea of whatever we have. But I think there's no perfect time. The other thing is if you're not in the culinary industry and you want to be in it, or you think you want to be in it, I would say before you spend all the money in culinary school, I would say go work somewhere for a short period of time and see if it's really what you like. Cooking at home and cooking in restaurants are obviously so different. And the restaurant is a business and it needs to be treated as such. It is a business that opens up its doors for everyone to be able to participate, but it also must be controlled in cost wise. There's a lot of expenses that come with it. So understanding that before kind of going off into your own, I think is important. And I think that sort of turning off the eye of what everyone else is doing when you're coming up is important. It's easy to start comparing yourself to where others are and how long it took for them to get there. Because, girl, hello. There were so many times I'm like, dang, I could go work at another restaurant and make more money, but I knew I was learning more. And I really felt like it would pay off. I used to have a chef that would tell me, just trust the process. And now I tell my chefs that because it's true. You can get fired from a restaurant and you take whatever it is you learned with you. So that restaurant the actual place of the restaurant is not as important as what you learn while you're there.
Yeah.
So just know that that information is for you. And the other thing I would say is give yourself grace. Grace to make some mistakes, grace to be patient in that process. And also every now and then you gotta like lift your head up and enjoy the moment. I felt like I worked so hard for each goal, right? I'm a goal driven girl.
Yeah.
I write it down. I'm looking for, I'm trying to put that check mark. I have a goal for each day. I'm trying to hit that check mark for each day.
Yes.
And it's easy to get caught up into the drive and the hustle and bustle and that check mark, but like also enjoying where you are when you're not where you even think you should be or where you want to be.
Yeah.
So that's my grace. Grace is important.
Yeah. I love this last piece where it's like, stop and enjoy, because you are in the moment that you had wished for, you know. I definitely feel that deeply, because I mean, I'm writing my cookbook, as you know, and I just feel myself like I'm on to the next, you know, got my cookbook deal. It's like on to the next. I don't even really think I have fully like lived in this moment of like, wow,
how big of a moment it is to write a cookbook, the moments in culinary school that you could only dream of. Now it's like, now I got to sell this cookbook, right? Like,
it's always just go, go, go. I do find myself trying to be like, okay, like breathe, like this is big. This is such a big deal, you know? So that's a really good piece of advice there.
And congratulations to you with everything you're doing. I know, like, you know, sometimes you're like, dang, can they see it all? You know, we see you. We're proud of you. We're so happy for you. We can't wait to have you back in Dallas. You let us know when you want to come back. We'll do next year again. But it's very special and motivating to see what you're doing out there. So keep up the work. And I'm so happy that more opportunities like this are happening for us all to link up. We always say that, you know, sometimes as Black chefs, you don't really know a lot of other Black chefs. And I feel like over the last few years, we are all intentionally creating space for one another. We're continually meeting up. We're cooking at each other's restaurants. We're doing podcasts. Like there's a movement happening. And I'm just happy to be a part of it. So thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you. And thank you for being here. I know you are a busy lady, so I really, really appreciate it. I don't even need to tell the people where to find you, because they're probably already following you and following everything you do. But please, where can the people find you?
So on Instagram, it is MasterChef TD. And those of you who knew, it was MasterChef TD for all my life. So it's funny that now I'm on MasterChef. Okay.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. Yes. Wow. What a full circle. Wow. You be manifesting queen.
Yes. Facebook, Tiffany Derry. And then obviously you can find me at tiffanyderryconcepts.com and figure out what we got going on. We got lots of stuff going on. So, and if you're interested in franchising, Roots Chicken Shack Franchising.
There you go. Some duck fat fries. Yum.
Oh, yeah.
And then on MasterChef, on TV, MasterChef.
Yeah, every Wednesday, MasterChef. For the next few months, I have another show called The Great American Recipe that's getting ready to air this month as well. So get ready on PBS. So lots of good stuff.
You can find her everywhere. All right, y'all. I hope you enjoyed. I know you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, review, and we'll catch you again. Same time, same place next week. Bye-bye.